Before we start today's episode, we want to give a content warning. This conversation includes discussion of suicide, self-harm, trauma, and alcohol relapse. Please take care while listening, and feel free to skip this episode if these topics are difficult for you. Support resources will be listed in the description below.
You are now listening to the Messed Up Podcast. Messed Up! Messed Up.
Hello and welcome to Messed Up number 5.
Welcome along. It has been a while between number 4 and number 5. We've had a little bit on in the last couple of weeks. And so this one, perhaps there was some apprehension from my end too to do this one. It's quite in-depth and I'm giving away information that I haven't shared with anyone.
Close to the heart.
Feel privileged. But just some explanation from last week. We generally have some props up behind us which signify or are related to the events that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so from last week, I believe we had, my teddy bear. So this is actually a bear that's been with me since, how old?
Since birth, basically.
Since birth, yeah.
30.
Still kicking.
30 years.
Actually, when I did therapy, they told me to bring something that I'd had for a while. And so he was my little therapy bear for my short stint in therapy, but useful stint, I must say.
One-eyed bear.
One eye left. Good for Halloween, hey?
Yeah, I think he might have lost his eye quite early on too. So he's been he's quite used to having one eye.
He's quite the pirate at this point.
The last episode we did was related to Halloween, or it was Halloween theme in a sense. It was a little scary. And this picture was done by Dylan's elder sister, my eldest daughter, back in high school. So that was one of the props that we used.
It's also stood the test of time, and I've always really liked it. I don't think she likes it as much as I do, but I think it's really cool. It's a good effort, she's a good artist. So that explains that one. It's not just a normal clown.
And yeah, it's travelled the journey too.
Yeah, it has. It's probably been through some crazy weather too, I'd say.
It's been through hell and back.
Yeah. What else we have?
So this week we have a picture that's been done for me by my grandson.
Yeah.
And next to that we have Chili, who is obviously the mother.
Her name. It's a her.
Yeah, it's a she.
Okay.
Chili, who is the mum of Bluey and Bingo.
You sure you can say that?
It's a she. Wow. Maybe it's a them. That's up there because we went for a trip to Bluey's World, which we'll talk about a bit later on.
A family trip. Yeah.
It was a good family trip.
And then from the same trip, we have the despicable minion. What's his name? King.
I'd say he's King Minion, wouldn't you?
Yeah. It's not Stuart. It's King.
Calvin or
little name.
We'll have to. Yeah, we'll figure that out, and hopefully, when we think of it, we'll bring it up.
Yeah.
And then we've got some gaming controllers due to another segment that we're going to talk about.
And then, of course, the pictures
in Darwin. Those animals can be found up in Darwin. Obviously, the crocodile is best known for Darwin. And whilst I was up in Darwin, saw quite a few crocodiles, and I didn't need to.
Did you? Really?
Yes. Did not need to go on tours to see them either.
Because there's always the warnings on the beach, like Actung.
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 Yeah.
But you generally don't see them, and if you do, maybe you don't see anything else. But yeah.
No, well,
you actually saw them up there. Huh?
I actually worked on Bathurst Island. Frequently see them floating out from the beach, looking like a log. I learnt, like the locals knew, that don't go swimming when he's floating about.
Yeah, crazy. They're savages, crocodiles, aren't they? Tear their own arms off sometimes accidentally.
Well,
so,
accidentally on purpose.
Yeah.
Tuck you under a log and come back and eat you a few days later when you're nice and tender.
So
Darwin. So we did mention that in the last episode we'd talk about detoxing Darwin. Darwin is the Wild West. Of Australia, I believe.
You hadn't been there prior, had you?
No,
I haven't.
no.
I've never been there. So
no, it is. It's a beautiful place. It's raw. It's very natural, and the lifestyle is laid back to a level.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a beautiful city, and it's certainly worth going to and experiencing.
More laid back than Australia in general, then.
Yes, I would say it's probably like Queensland used to be maybe 20 years ago. Darwin's still got that laid back attitude.
Yeah.
I'll start with basically I was working week on, week off. I was flying back into Darwin. I had 3 days in Darwin before a significant event in mine and my children's life was going to happen, and that was we were having a reunion in Melbourne, which would be the first time as adults that we'd all been together.
Yeah, pretty significant.
We'd done it a couple of times when the kids were younger, but this was going to be the first time as adults that we were all going to be in the one location, sharing good times. This will probably help explain the hold or the grip that addiction and letting the monkey out of the cage, the negative results, because this is not a good dad moment. This is probably my worst dad moment.
Okay.
So basically, to explain or give you more detail, and these aren't excuses, these are just things that led to this event.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 weeks prior to this happening, I found somebody who had hung themselves and entered their room, saw them hanging there, picked them up, put them on the bed, loosened or released the emergency bell buzzer cord that they had used from around their neck, called out for help, and then myself and my I started CPR immediately, and then when my manager got there, we alternated giving CPR for 45 minutes to no avail. And the next day, I flew out, basically had about 4 weeks off.
That would have been probably the most confronting thing since you'd been a nurse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's such a...
There were other incidents, but nothing went close to the effect that had on me.
Yeah. And being such a small community, you would have known that person as well, right?
Oh, absolutely, I did. And for sort of confidential reasons, I don't want to sort of share too much about that incident. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. The night before the event happened, I was actually talking with this person.
Okay.
We were having a conversation at 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I wasn't working at the stage, but I lived within the facility, and we were having a chat. When I flew out, had planned on coming to Brisbane, which I did. Speaking of triggers, I probably didn't need too much of a trigger to start me drinking, but this was obviously something that was quite upsetting. It filled me with a lot of different emotions. Guilt being one of them.
Wow.
And, what could I have done better or to prevent this happening? And so for 2 weeks, closer to 3 weeks, I basically went on a bender. I was staying with my mum at the time, and my mum, having lived with the same condition with my dad, was an enabler. It got to a stage where after 3 weeks, my manager contacted me. She'd spoken to me throughout the time to just by text message, just checking in, and I bluffed my way or lied about how I was feeling. She ended up saying, are you right to come back to work on the date that I was meant to come back? And I said, yeah, listen, I had to be brutally honest then, and I told her the situation, and she was very compassionate and empathetic.
Were you still in Darwin at this stage?
No, I was still in Brisbane.
Okay.
And so she said to me, well, how much time do you need before you're going to be right to come back to work? And being right to get back to work meant that I'd been sober for 8, 9 days and cleaned myself up, had my head in a better position. And so I told her basically I'd need 2 weeks. And so I returned to work. She offered me the opportunity to stay on the island on my weeks off because she felt that it would help me and it was a more controlled environment, which it was. I never associated work or the island with drinking, even though you could drink there 3 or 4 nights of the week. There was a club, but I never chose to do that. I just always felt, ironically, that drinking and working was not the best representation for me. It basically meant for the 5 weeks after the 5 weeks that I'd had off, I was on the island constantly. So I'd been clean for, a good 6, 7 weeks. One of the poor decisions I made, I should have sought counselling or therapy after the incident that happened on the island, which I didn't. Stupid me. And the second thing was prior to leaving for my annual leave, which turned into a 5-week period, I had ended my living situation in Darwin. I was sharing a house with a family a beautiful family. And so I had that sort of discipline. I was renting a room and I had the discipline of living with a family. And so stupidly, I thought, well, I can save a little bit of money here, so I'll move out because I'm not going to be there for 5 or 6 weeks, because working on the island and going away meant that I could save some money. So I basically gave them notice and moved out. So when I came back and I was on the island for 5 weeks, that worked out well too. But then when I went back to Darwin, I had 3 days before I was going to fly to Melbourne for the reunion. I was staying in a motel for those 3 days. When I got in that afternoon, 3 days prior to flying out, I decided that it would be a good idea to have a drink. There was a bottle shop just across the road, as there are in most locations when you want to look. And so I went across the road and I bought a bottle and went back to the room, and there I was myself, isolated. And when I bought the bottle, obviously I was of the intention that I would, I'd have a few drinks, and then the next day, I wouldn't drink, and then on the third day I'd fly out. And unfortunately, just buying that bottle, once I'd consumed that, unlocked the cage, let the monkey out of the cage. And so the next day I woke up and continued going to the bottle shop. It was basically drinking to the point where I would just drink myself to the point of sleeping, wake up. If there was any left, drink it. If there wasn't, go to the bottle shop. I realised by the second day, by the afternoon, I was not going to make the trip to Melbourne. My alter ego had taken over, the real me, and sometimes I don't know who the real me is.
Yeah, when you're in that moment, or just in general?
No, I think once I start drinking, the real me becomes just so meek and mild that the ego, the alter ego, I can do this, I'll be able to achieve this, I'll be able to, recover from this, I'll be right.
Yeah.
And, the monkey's gone crazy and wild at that stage. And so basically on the day that I was due to fly out, I knew I wasn't going to fly out, and that just increased the need for me to drink and remove myself from the situation.
Drown out those feelings, kind of guilt and the...
Yeah, well, it was the next level. It was, feeling obviously guilt, selfish, self-absorbed, and knowing the letdown that I was about to cause. And so by that third day, I'd got to a stage where I'd wake up in the morning, go to the bottle shop, get to the afternoon, go back to the bottle shop. Then I was meant to be on a plane that afternoon, and before the bottle shop shut that night, go back to the bottle shop. Messages started coming through of...
Where are you? What's going on?
And...
Are you okay?
And what was my response, Dylan?
I don't think there was one. No.
My response was initially to read the messages, realise that you were all in Melbourne together, and then, as bad as it sounds...
Happy with that?
I was happy that you were all there.
Yeah.
But I knew that I'd booked accommodation that you didn't have access to, because I was in no position to communicate. It got to a stage where I turned my phone off. I isolated myself further.
What, yourself further?
Isolated myself further. And then the next morning, turned my phone on to a number of messages, some voicemails. To be honest, now I can't remember, I obviously know the context that they were in, and a lot of it was from a care aspect. Some disappointment, or, just wanting to know where I was at, which was more than reasonable.
Was there some disappointment messages?
When I say disappointment, it wasn't openly disappointment. It was just like, where are you? Where are you? And looking forward to seeing you.
What's going on?
That
kind of thing.
And so I'm sure they came. They weren't disappointment in myself. It was more understanding and care, but it was disappointment that I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so again, now I'm feeling a great deal of mental anguish. I brought all this upon myself, and so I continued to do what had got me in that position in the first place, and that was continue to drink. I needed to go to the hotel reception and book another day, obviously, and I did that for the next few days. Every day I'd go to the reception, book another day, and continue doing what I was doing.
Wiser.
I didn't know what was happening in Melbourne, but once communicating with my children, and it wasn't whilst I was in the hotel, I was told that they had, rang around a number of hotels in Darwin and finally found the hotel that I was in. And at this stage, drinking to the point where I would wipe myself out, fall asleep. When you've had that much alcohol, you can only sleep for a couple of hours, because what happens is you wake up and your body is craving more. Because that's what your system's become used to.
That's your fuel now, in a way.
And so I would, wake up a couple of hours later, drink what was left. If I ran out, go to the bottle shop again. It got to a stage where I was basically in an alcohol-induced coma. I don't know what triggered me, but at one stage I opened my eyes. Perhaps subconsciously I'd heard something, and I was in bed, bottles all around me. Some bottles I'd gotten rid of during my stay into bins in the hallway in the motel. But there were, obviously bottles around the room. I'd woken up to perhaps a sound and opened my eyes to see 3 policemen and a guy in a suit, who I later learnt was the hotel manager, at my door. And from that point on, I can't remember anything after that.
Like a movie, isn't it? Not a good one, but
Yeah, no, it's and I still have that image
that vision
with me that I carry. And so the next moment in my memory was waking up in a hospital bed.
Yeah.
Now, before this happened, I did answer the phone once. It was someone who I hadn't spoken to for a number of years, perhaps 8 or 9 years, and the name came up on my phone, and I answered the phone. And the reason I answered it was because it was my youngest daughter's mother. I thought something had happened to one of the kids. But she had rang to because, my youngest daughters had talked to her, and she rang to basically see where I was at, what I was doing, if I was okay. And that even made me feel guilty, because I hadn't answered the phone to all my children.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when they found out that I answered the phone that way, that they would have felt a little bit, probably good to know that I was alive, but they probably would have felt, why didn't he answer the phone for me? And that's the reason that I answered the phone, was because I was concerned that something had actually happened to one of them. The next memory I have from, the 3 policemen and the motel manager being at the door was waking up in a hospital surrounded by curtains, because it was in a large ward that the beds were separated by curtains. It was obviously a drug and alcohol ward or of the like. I had an IV drip attached to me, a sore left shoulder from probably getting vitamin B shots, and some food that had been left for me, which there was no chance I was going to eat that.
Were you more aware at that stage? Like you're a bit, or was your system still really strong?
No. It probably would have been maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours later.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Like I said, I had no concept of day or time at that stage.
And you obviously hadn't slept very well, so.
No. Well, off and on. I was, my body was physically sore from doing nothing. And I needed to actually go to the toilet despite being massively dehydrated, which I would have been. But because I was on the IV drip, I actually needed to go to the toilet. And I went to try and get off the bed, and my legs couldn't hold me up. So I sort of said hello, and there was a lady actually sitting outside of my on the other side of the curtain, who I could sort of half see when I woke up. And because I had been admitted to the hospital as a involuntary ITC, which is involuntary treatment client, which basically involuntary means that you couldn't consent to medical treatment, which obviously I couldn't. Or you can be involuntary if they believe there's a risk of self-harm, which obviously they felt that was the case, as in the condition I was in.
And I guess in a way it is self-harm, isn't it? Although it's not so cut and dry.
There are other reasons why you can end up in that situation, involuntary. And involuntary also means that you can't leave, and if you do, they will get you.
Bring you
report to the police, bring you back. And so that's why I had this lady sitting outside of my bed, because she was there to make sure that I didn't leave or do anything that was harming. So I said to her, listen, I need to go to the toilet. And I said, but I can't actually use my legs. And so she ended up getting a wheelchair, and she put me in a wheelchair and took me to the toilet. And over the next couple of days, I was able to walk due to determination, but it wasn't very confident that I was walking. You know, there was no confidence involved in my walking. And because I'd been put in the hospital, I had no possessions. Now, remember, I went to the motel to actually fly out to Melbourne 3 days later. So I had, obviously, everything that you would need for a trip to go to Melbourne.
Essentials.
Yep, a check-in bag with all sorts of technical devices. And the only thing that I had of my worldly possessions in the hospital when I woke up was a vape in my pocket. That's all I had.
Yeah. Just a heads up, the next segment contains detailed discussion of suicide and self-harm. If that's something that you don't want to hear right now, please skip ahead a few minutes or check the chapter markers. Thank you.
So, obviously now I'm feeling all the feelings that I was feeling when I was able to just consume alcohol and numb those effects. Not that that really worked, but when it wiped me out, I got some solace from that.
Feeling the same things, but without that.
Yes.
Solace.
Yes. And the alter ego, the monkey, was basically, let's just go, let's just get out of here. Myself, or my better self, was defeated. Here I was. Feeling it as low as I'd ever felt in my life.
Yeah, wow.
And, after being in there for a couple of days, and I still had no appetite. One thing I'd noticed, above my bed, there was this big framework. It was, I don't know what it was. It might have been used for, to help with surgeries or something like that, but it was a large framework above my bed. And at one stage, I actually, like I said, I'd given up.
It's okay.
I wrapped a sheet around my neck, and I stood up on the bed and I threw the sheet up to get over this framework. And when I did that, I fell down because I was still not very steady. And when I fell down on the bed, that was the moment that I basically said, well, this is it. I need to get myself out of this situation. And, and I think we'll end it there, and we'll continue it maybe in the next podcast or the one after that. But through really poor decision making and not dealing with issues, that sort of led me to that point. Anyway, we'll continue on another time because it does get more positive, and it's amazing what the strength of love from loved ones can do for you.
Yeah. Would you say that was like the rock bottom of alcohol abuse in a way, sort of?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, at this stage, I haven't even got into detox.
Yeah.
I'm basically in the hospital for 4 days. I was in the hospital, basically in the hospital. They try and get you physically where you should be as far as, fluids, nutrition, vitamins and minerals that your body has been depleted from. And obviously they don't work on the mental aspect of things.
Just making sure you can survive.
And that you're safe to go to detox.
Yeah.
So
okay. We'll have
the next pod will actually talk about detoxing Darwin because it was a long stage getting there.
An important stage. Very contrasting and emotional ride that would have been for you, and looking back for sure. Especially it's funny how you have the memory of the police and the hotel manager, but then a lot of the rest is just sort of a blur or
Yep. Yeah.
You'll always have that with you, which is,
I was, when I got to the hospital, I had no signs of the trip from the motel room to the hospital. So, the police, they saved me.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess from our side, obviously we're worried about you first and foremost, because as you grow up, you have parents that even when they are not organizing everything and you have your own lives, they're still like, the figurehead. They're still like the thing that makes things click. It makes just the big decisions, like you had the accommodation booked already and like that sort of thing. So in a way, it was a good little, it was great that we're all there apart from you. And obviously we all wanted you there. But yeah, I guess for a few days it was just worrying about you and hoping you were okay. And then when we heard that you were in good hands, sort of a few days in, we could sort of enjoy the time we had. We did that, we planned things and we did things and
Yes.
we made the most of it. And since we have almost had the full crew together again, and that was another great piece of that. So
despite me not being there for that trip, one of the positives on the track was to hear that I'd spent a really quality time with each other, and perhaps they were able to talk about things without me being there that mightn't have been addressed if I was there. Which was good. But yeah, and also for you to all go ahead and in the end enjoy your time. That I was very proud of that.
yeah, you got to make the most of bad situations. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so wipe away the tears. We'll change the topic up a little bit. So
Times you've been outnumbered. Ratios are against you or maybe for you.
First one I'll say was playing senior football at a young age, 15, and that was partially because there were no junior teams in the area, which was Airlie Beach. I was given the opportunity to train with the senior team and ended up playing for the senior team as a 15-year-old.
That's awesome.
With
crazy.
Yeah, with people who, I don't think there would have been many under the age of 21, 22 in the team. So I certainly felt outnumbered as far as people that were my age. But it worked. It probably worked for me more so than against me, because I felt like I was protected. I had all these guys around me.
And learn maybe from them.
Oh, absolutely. And also even playing against opponents, I think, given that it was in the 80s and footy was pretty rugged and tough back then, I felt that despite having the protection of my own teammates, I think the opposition sort of were a little bit protective of me as well with certain things.
Normally if someone that's clearly younger or smaller or something, if they get hit or tackled or bumped off a bit much, then normally their team will sort of back them a little bit, or so there's always that as well. Which is a good part about football. Outnumbered for me, definitely studying to be a teacher. I did that for about 6 months before I realised I wasn't really ready for it mentally, sort of. I feel like it was a job where I have to sort my own things out before I can sort of be wholehearted in it and potentially affect the youth, because it was primary teaching. But yeah, in that, it was like over 90% females. So
Doing the
course, yeah. So that was definitely an outnumbered thing. And it was a little bit empowering. It was good. Like that definitely wasn't part of the reason I stopped or anything. I thought it was pretty cool actually. But I've definitely felt a bit outnumbered. The male to the female ratio there.
Yes. Another time when I was a teenager, my parents and I were staying in a caravan park in Airlie Beach for a period of time. A school bus turned up and they stayed there for a couple of days, and it was an all-girls school. I used to do correspondence school, so I didn't actually go to high school. I was just doing it by post back in the day. There were 14 or 15 girls, all about my age, and for the couple of days that they were there, if they weren't out on a day trip or they'd get back at night, join them, and we would chat and talk and in open areas, and I'm sure their teachers were keeping an eye. But it was all innocent, and it was certainly outnumbered, about 14 to 1. For a couple of months after that, we would write letters, back and forth, a few of us, and then obviously
Send the owl.
You move on.
Send the owl with the note.
The pigeon. Yeah. It's not an owl, it's a pigeon.
Oh, Harry Potter.
No, actually, Australia Post was still around then.
What about at Bluey's World?
Bluey's World, yes.
Yeah. So that's Chile, is that?
Chile. My grandson's painting. My grandson, for his third birthday celebrations, his mum and dad brought him up to the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And we all met down there. Siblings coming from Mackay, Brisbane and from Melbourne to all meet at the Gold Coast. And one of the many things that we did
We did do a bit,
was go to Bluey's World. And for those of you who don't know who Bluey is or Bluey's World, Google it.
I was the same.
But yeah, Bluey has become a phenomenon. Probably the most watched TV show,
Kids TV.
you know, Netflix,
Cartoon
cartoons, 4, 6, 7, 8-year-old bracket. Anyway, so we went to Bluey's World, and there were 7 adults. You know, he had a few uncles, a few aunties, a granddad, a mum and a dad, 3-year-old grandson. So he certainly had plenty of security. His mum and dad were probably relieved that they didn't have to watch him
that's a lot of
closely.
eyes on.
Yep. And how was your experience with that?
I mean, I was just enjoying the show, honestly. It was because it was most people were just mum and dad and kid, or mum and dad and 2 kids, and then we were 7 adults and 1 kid, and it was kind of just humorous. But yeah, I just enjoyed the show, to be honest. It was a really cool setup too. So yeah.
It was. I thought one of the funniest moments, they had their, photos set up at the end of the show where the kids and the parents had a photo taken, and then they'd try and, sell it to you.
I think I actually had a hole in my pants for ours. I'm pretty sure. I had like a rip in my pants or something. I was like, oh my God.
And what was quite funny was the mum and dad of 3-year-old, they were, ready for this situation, and they were sort of front of line, and they got up on stage, and I sort of saw from a distance, because we were, at that stage, we'd given up our babysitting duties. We were sort of standing back and, just chilling. The mum was basically, come on, you guys have to,
Ushered us over.
come on stage with us.
So then the 5 of us came out of the queue way back.
Yeah, but during this time, a little girl hopped up on stage as well, stranger to us. The photographer was like, "Oh, you ready to have your photo taken?" And mum basically said, no, she's not my daughter. Got the son here, but there's more people coming. And so there we were, the 7 of us and 3-year-old grandson.
Big Samoan bloke.
Yeah. And so, other people must have looked at it and gone, is that kid famous or something? He's got a lot of security there. So yeah, that's another stage where
he's the Bluey double.
The ratio was uneven.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen too many times, I wouldn't think, that many adults.
7 to 1
kid.
And, that was at theme parks as well.
True.
We won't name them all, but it was always, a 7 to 1 ratio. So it probably made it a lot easier on mum and dad having so many there.
Video games growing up.
Okay, well, this is going to be different eras, isn't it? Favourites. Well, I have to go back to probably the first one I played, which was Space Invaders. Love Space Invaders.
You're in the ship and
and you've got shields in front of you, and the enemy basically shoot and kill your shields as you go, and it becomes quicker, and you get down to 1. It's quite fast. But
I remember when I found out that I kind of knew, but hearing it was like, whoa, when the ship feels like it's moving, but it's just the map around you moving. The ship always stays the same, like for most games, right? It's always the environment, and not your character, which is quite an interesting way to look at it,
And yours? You name one?
Well, I used to really enjoy the Spyro games actually growing up. I think they were pretty cool.
Spyro, yeah. I do remember playing Spyro with you guys. And I always thought it was, despite it being sort of cartoonish, it was a good game. It had different.
And then we've played Pong. We used to play Pong a bit on the old Avatar. What is it?
Atari. Well, see, after Space Invaders, I mean, obviously when I played Space Invaders, you had to actually pay for it.
Yeah.
It wasn't a home. But the first actual game that I played in someone's home, and it was a friend's home because I wasn't that fortunate, but he had an Atari
and
Pong. So Pong is absolutely one of my top 5
Such
games.
a simple, nice game.
Simple game. It requires, different. You can be good at it or you can be poor at it. It's not that simple that everyone's good at it.
Angles
it's
space awareness, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But currently, I've been playing a game called The Bazaar. Did you ever read one of those books that's like Choose Your Own Adventure?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, you'd go to page 23 or 34.
Amazing. I used to read so much. Since technology came in, a lot less. Yeah, but I used to really enjoy digging into a book and just reading it. And so I love those books. But yeah, this game is basically like that, but with like cards or pieces. So you have like a pool of, there's about 6 characters you can choose. Each character has their own specific items, character specific. And then there's also a group of items that they can all share. And occasionally you'll get an item from another hero as well, or from another character as well. And basically you have a wage or an income you get every day, and that increases as you go on. You buy from the collection, so you pay for the cards, and you've got to be kind of smart with your money. And then you have like your weapons, or some are like sea creatures or whatever, and then some are like like potions and stuff, and you make a build.
Okay.
And then you verse someone else. But the crazy thing is, you're not versing them in real time. It's like, I forget the name for it. It's like it's already been simulated. So you could be ready for the match against the first person, and you play it tomorrow, and it's still right there waiting for you. So it's already been simulated. And basically the goal is to win 10 fights.
But these against real people who are playing.
They're against real people who have
played already.
Made these builds and put them and clicked like go fight. And then so for example, if you're in Africa and you're playing, you click and see my name, like, do you want to verse this person? You don't do it. I could have already versed you and you wouldn't know, you know what I mean? So it's not like real time. I forget there's a name for it, but yeah.
Okay.
So it's very interesting. So you can have a run go for as long as you want. There's no time pressure of sorts, but obviously, so when you're battling each other, there's a time clock. So after a certain amount of time, damage starts coming in from the storm, and so that will make sure there's a winner inevitably. Okay. So there's shield you can build, there's heal items. Yeah, so it's quite a cool. And basically, every run is different because it is like your own adventure. The decisions you make affect what you end up with. So yeah, it's a really interesting modern game. With any questions? Choosing part.
Obviously, the more you play, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
You're collecting things that you might need in the future.
So a run is of 20 life points. If you lose on day 1, okay, you lose 1 prestige, 1 life point, right? If you lose on day 10, you lose 10 prestige.
Oh, wow.
Once that hits 0, you get 1 extra life where they give you bonuses. But yeah, so you have 20 life basically, and you have 10 wins you need to get.
Okay.
3, 7, and 10 wins, you get rewards. But you don't keep those items. When you start a new day, you start a new run.
Okay.
You choose your character, and you start your run back from 0.
And it's called Bazaar.
The Bazaar, yeah.
The Bazaar.
But yeah, cool game.
Okay. Something probably not as technical, but requiring a level of skill, and something. My favourite pinball machine was Addams Family. Nothing to do with the name. There's obviously many different pinball machines, and this was a pinball machine that was released in the 90s. It had great sound. There were quotes from the TV show or the movies, and one of my favourites was "Sing, you're really on the ball." But yeah, it had lots of different quotes in it, so it wasn't just visual and manually operated. There was a great sound to it as well.
It's a good like atmosphere when you're playing, and so places would have that machine. Was it a popular one, or was it just a certain?
If it was a bit like today with different things, if it was a modern, a popular place, it would generally have Addams Family. Yeah, so I would have played it in different pinball or snooker parlours but it was a great game. When I was growing up in the 80s, my parents had a milk bar, and next door there was a fish and chip shop. And back in those days, all fish and chip shops had usually a couple. They'd have a pinball machine, and they might have Space Invaders, for example.
Making me hungry. How good's fish and chips?
And me and the kid, boy who was the son of the people that owned the fish and chip shop, we figured out a way to get games cheap because, again, it was 20 cents a game, and back in the 80s, 20 cents was substantial. You could buy paper for 20 cents back then, so that sort of gives you the equivalent now. What's a newspaper? I don't know. I haven't bought one, but probably $1.50, $2, something.
At least, yeah.
And we figured out a way that you could get 5-cent coins and balance them on your finger and flick them up the refund. Because sometimes if you put a coin in that wasn't right, it would come to the refund section. And you could flick it up backwards, these 5-cent coins, and they'd hit the switch to give you a game. The problem was they wouldn't drop back down into the refund. They'd actually drop into the machine where all the 20-cent coins were.
Oh.
So after a couple of weeks, the owners of the fish and chip shop were trying to figure out why all these 5-cent coins were actually in with the 20-cent coins, because if you put a 5-cent coin in where the 20-cent coin, it would just drop down to the refund. So I think the son actually owned up to it. But yeah, you could flick a 5-cent coin up the wrong way and you got a game.
I spent some hours trying to figure that out.
Oh, and see, that's the other thing with games. When I initially started playing them, they were all, you'd pay for them.
Yeah.
So there wasn't this continuous mode of playing that there is nowadays. You buy a PlayStation.
You're still paying arm and a leg, but yeah.
For the initial outlay, but the actual game, once you've got that, you can play it for hours and hours and hours. Yeah. Whereas back in the day, you were limited by the amount of money you had.
Yeah, that's wild. Let us know if you had a favourite video game in the comments. And
yes, another good one was Galaga. Yeah, but there's
Galaga?
Yeah, it was sort of an updated version of Space Invaders.
Okay.
Yeah. There's lots. So mention a video game that you like. Mario Brothers, whatever it is, you mention it.
We had a sort of a discovery in the week since our last podcast where we talked about what I call stage fright.
Yep. Otherwise known as shy bladder. The medical term is paruresis. Anyway, someone Google it.
There's
and put it in the
there's
comments
actually a medical term for it. That's quite fascinating.
And I think I said that, and again, uneducated response, females wouldn't suffer from it. Well, actually they do. Wow. Females do suffer from it. Doing some research and having discussions. But I think the figures are around 16% men suffer from it.
Okay.
And about 5 to 6%.
That's quite high, isn't it? 16%. Damn.
Well, because it's a discussion that people aren't going to bring up.
Yeah.
It won't be a popular topic, and you won't realise how many people suffer from it. But yeah.
And 5% of women, I mean, that's a lot too. 5% is huge.
And there are some medical problems associated with it. On the physical nature, UTIs, urinary tract infections, which can alter your cognitive state as well. Don't just think it's all about the physical nature of it. There's mental issues associated with.
Wow.
Issues with your kidneys, stones that can be created in your bladder.
And obviously there's the mental aspect as well, right?
Yeah.
Like self-confidence, anxiety, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, there is. Anxiety, depression. And some people will dehydrate themselves so that they don't have to urinate in public. I've heard of stories where people will go into a toilet, let's say, for instance, at an airport. There's usually 2 or 3 public toilets at an airport, a few hundred metres away from each other. I've heard of stories where someone will go into the toilet, they can't go, so they walk out of that toilet, they'll walk down to the next one again. They might even wait for, the toilet to be emptied or for the hand dryer to being used. Yeah. So they feel comfortable about
it really is
relieving themselves.
Such a comfort thing, like with the sound too, because I mean it's mostly sound, right? Because if they couldn't hear me, for example, like if I was in a stall, right, opposed to a urinal, obviously when you're standing at a urinal, it's very like
confronting.
Yeah.
Particularly if you've got that anxious thoughts.
But if I was like standing up over a toilet, or I don't know, if I sit down, it's okay. But if I was standing up over a toilet and I knew that someone could hear me doing it, I'd probably be less likely to be able to do it comfortably. And just a little side note, I noticed that when I eat bananas, my flow is really good. So I don't know what that's about, but maybe...
When you eat bananas?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we'll do some research.
Or something.
Maybe we'll do some research into that. If I see you standing outside the toilet eating a banana, I know why you're doing that.
Yeah. So maybe take some more bananas if you're struggling with the flow.
Okay, interesting. Conversation,
Yeah.
discussion. There are medications that you can take to help you, and some of those might be anxiety medication.
That's the interesting thing about medication, though, isn't it? Like, I feel like yours, if, for example, I was to take that, it would probably affect me in other ways too, right? There's always like a give and a take, isn't
Yeah,
there?
there's always side effects. But it's whether those side effects are worth the outcome that you're going to get.
Because I probably only deal with that, I don't know, maybe 5 times a month, you know what I mean? Or like it's not...
But it's not always in public, is it?
No, it doesesn't have to be in public. I can be in the bathroom with my partner, and you know, if she's like watching me or like talking to me, I'm like, can I have a bit of space? You know, just subconsciously, because it's like there's like this pressure. There's this stage fright. There's this pressure. You know, you feel like you have to perform almost. And while we're on the subject, I have no problem elsewhere. But
thanks for that, Dave.
but yeah. That really is what it's like. It's like dance now, you know, and it's a weird mental thing.
So recently we've been playing pickleball.
A bit like Pong, but more 3D.
yeah, absolutely. It is a lot like Pong. It's about hitting the ball, working the angles, building up to a win for a point.
The sport that's taking off in Australia.
It is very much so. And we're fortunate because where we go, it's in a beautiful parked area. There's no fence around it. It's free to use by the public. The courts are kept in really good condition.
Get a bit of sun. I know I got a bit of sunburn.
Yeah, you did. And it's first in, best dressed. So sometimes you just wait a little while. Sometimes you walk straight on and start playing. We started out a few weeks ago, and I know my physical condition was basically at sort of recovery stage, and my nerves were all over the place, and my reflexes weren't great, and some of my decision making on the court wasn't terrific either.
But didn't match your competitive nature.
Well, the competitive nature was still there, but the ability to actually compete at a level that I thought I could just wasn't. You know, the coordination was a little bit out. But over the last few weeks, we've just recently played with 4 people, the
first time was nice.
Yeah, it was very good. But just that social aspect of playing a game out in the open, being outside.
Sun,
Yep.
Being able to have a chat about something like-minded and, things.
Yeah, and so the reflexes and the body moving to where I want it to has improved.
Also, I think something important, and I think this is why people plan a lot. They have like diaries and, you know, they have calendars and schedules and stuff like that, is it gives you something to look forward to, you know. If you're doing it every weekend or every certain day of a week, or, you know, you've got that to look forward to. It kind of keeps you driving throughout the week. It's nice to have that thing, you know.
Absolutely.
Especially when it's something that's so welcoming and fun, and
even though
your body appreciates you too.
And even though it's competitive, I don't feel, because it's lighthearted. It's enjoyable. If I don't get a shot, or if I get beaten by someone, you know, it doesn't.
The result doesn't matter outside of
the actual doing it.
Yeah.
And I think for a couple of days, it was funny because when we initially got back after the game, and we played for a couple of hours, so it was a good session. A couple of the lads that we played with were, you know, messaging saying they were sore, and I was feeling quite good about myself. I was like, oh, I'm not really that sore, you know. Okay, I might have felt my sort of thighs when I, you know, bent down, but aside from that, I was pretty good. But I tell you what, 2 days later, I'm sore. I'm still sore. So it's a healthy sore though.
I've noticed that with wrestling, and maybe like if you have like a serious workout, or I'll go for a run or something, the day after is like, you can be sore, but it's the day after that where it's almost like it's settled in. Or
I think you almost need and you know, I did actually warm down, which is something that I wasn't, you know, fantastic at when I was fully active. But I actually did stretch down, and perhaps I needed to go for a walk the next day, I think, maybe. Yeah. So that's something else to look forward to.
But no, pickleball, very fun. Give it a try if you can. There's apparently there's courts everywhere, so I'm sure we'll be keeping it as part of our hobbies.
Even in Darwin.
Even in Darwin
So
with the crocodiles.
yeah. Yeah, they're pretty good at it, I think. If you get a crocodile on the court, they're going to win.
Okay, so next week we'll probably... You're heading to Melbourne, aren't you?
I'm going down to Melbourne to be there for the birth of my second grandchild.
Awesome.
So
I
yeah,
have a brother.
sister.
Oh, sister.
Sister.
Yeah, brother.
I have a sister. I'll be going down to Melbourne, which will be fantastic, and spending a week or so down there.
Should I put you in a wheelchair now so you can strap you to it, or are you going to be good?
No, I'll be good. I'll be good. So
How exciting.
yeah, the next pod that we do, we get to the detox stage in Darwin, or positive things that we do to avoid our addictions, things that we put in place, or some helpful ideas that might help others. The turning point from a fully addicted addict to breaking that stage, becoming a functioning person within your family and friends who is living life and really happy and enjoying it. Okay. So we'll see where we go with that.
All right, let us know in the comments if you enjoyed the episode, if there's any quality things, camera, sound, anything that's a bit off, or if you have a favourite game that you would like to share with us, let us know. Don't forget to turn the bell on if you don't want to miss an episode.
Yep. Don't forget to like if you liked it. And I know what I'm like. Sometimes I'll watch YouTube clips and I really love them, and then I'm like, oh, next one. And I don't like them. And now that we're doing this, I sort of feel guilty about not liking things that I've watched, because I know that it does mean something to the people who are producing it. You know, subscribe. Again, it's one of those things that means a lot to the people who are producing the podcast, and give comments, whether they're good or bad, or yeah.
And if you really don't like us, then you can turn off a post from this feed or whatever. So,
and if you don't like seeing us, like I know my head's a bit rotten, Dill's is a bit better than mine, but if you don't want to actually watch us, you can listen to us. And where can they listen to us, Dill?
They can listen to us on YouTube with the screen closed.
You
on
could.
Spotify. iHeart Radio.
Apple. We on Patreon, yeah?
Radio. We are on Patreon. So on Patreon, we're going to be putting extra content or more content. At the moment, I've just put audio versions of the podcast on there. So if you wanted to listen to that, you can. And that's free. We'll have a $5 fee where you can pay. You can ask personal things, or you can ask us questions that you want answered on the podcast, and you can remain anonymous if you'd like.
I might be one of those anonymous people that ask questions. I'm going to ask you some tough questions, Dill, for $5.
That gives us a different angle, questions that other people might also want answered that we wouldn't normally think of. So that could be really big. But yeah, you can be anonymous. You can tell us your first name, whatever, or you can just ask us a question if you need help with something. We're not experts in much, but if you just wanted
have opinions.
Yeah, just wanted someone to bounce off or get a second opinion on something, then be happy to do
We're
that.
here.
So
okay,
it's Patreon.
They messed up, and you keep safe.
All right, see you guys next time. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Messed Up Podcast.